Some days you're happy, some days you wanna when happy it's we when man it's them. It's the same place, Murali End, Sri Lanka cricket we gon' represent. So tell a friend.
Dr. Lanka strikes again. Welcome to the Murali End. My name's Mark Machado. I'm joined by former Sri Lanka fielding coach Anton Rue and my cousin across the pond, Dominic Machado. Sri Lanka have lost to England in what turns out to be quite a disastrous performance. They lost by 51 runs in Pallekele. England made 146 for 9. Sri Lanka won 95 all out. The game finished moments ago. Anton, I'm going to come straight to you and ask you, what do you think would be being said right now in that dressing room? How do you think the players will be feeling? Where does Sri Lanka go from here?
Yeah, of course, first feeling in the dressing would be there'd be a lot of silence, I would say, sort of reflecting on what's just transpired in the last couple of hours. But again, I think this is a perfect opportunity to test Sri Lanka's key decision makers. Are they going to be pressing the panic button, or is this perfect time to just keep things calm? There's still 2 games to play. It's sort of opened up this group slightly, for some must-win games for various teams. So I still think there's a lot of cricket to be played, but it's really interesting to see how they handle this going forward. But yeah, unfortunately, disappointing result for us today.
Dom, you've been up, I imagine, since about 4 a.m. I'm just going to add Estelle into the mix because she's joins us live from the stadium. Dom, I'll come to you in a minute. Estelle, what's the atmosphere like in the press box? Quiet, I imagine.
Yeah, very, very quiet. I think it was pretty excitable during that first inning because Sri Lanka bowled so well, right? But otherwise, yeah, a very, I think, demoralizing defeat, isn't it? Just the way things went with the bat.
Yeah, Dom, it just felt like at the innings break that game was there for the taking. I just felt that have to bat out the power play, not do anything too silly, losing 1 or 2, even 2 wickets in the power play. You think you're kind of all right, just kind of take each over as it comes. Don't take any risk. We should have been okay. Where did it all go wrong for us today, Dom?
I don't know if I can provide an answer to where it went wrong. I think it was just a total team failure, right? You think what should be going on in the change room right between innings is this is here. All we have to do is bat sensibly, bat the overs, and we'll get there. The only way you can lose this game is by giving England early wickets, and that's exactly what they did. I think there was also some... I want to kind of talk a little bit about Kamil Mishara here because Sangakkara was really hard on him for not being aggressive and showing intent. And I think that's a valid criticism, but I think it also shows the major problem that happens when you drop a player at his age after just a couple bad matches, because he was clearly playing for his spot. He said, okay, I'm going to get stuck in and get a score rather than playing his natural game. There were plenty of wide ones out there for him to hit. Will Jack's first over, he could have plopped the ball right over those fielders if he wanted to. But I think he was tense. He felt stressed after being dropped, and then he was plummeted into the squad here. So for me, obviously a lot of things went wrong, but you could see that the mentality that Sri Lanka were playing with was not to lose rather than trying to win the game.
Yeah, I just don't know what to kind of to make it of the way we kind of came out to bat, because like the other, when you look at the way England put their innings together, you take out that Phil Salt knock, and they've basically done almost exactly what we've done, right? It's the difference is Phil Salt stuck about a bit, and none of our players were able to just stay at the crease, right?
No, so I mean, we exchanged a few texts privately during the game. I wasn't convinced that the wicket was as good as what the commentators were saying. I think it's a lesson for everyone watching cricket. We know it in Test cricket is never judge a pitch by just watching one innings, right? So, and you could sort of sense it in Angie's way that he was commentating. He kept saying that, our spinners should be looking to turn the ball. He wasn't convinced of our way that we were trying to play the spin bowling when we were batting. So I think back in his mind, he sort of knew like this is not a very stroke conducive wicket. And I think, to be honest, I mean, you got Elle's there, she's right at the ground. But when a downpour like that happens the night before, the whole ground, the whole wicket is under the covers for a long period of time. I'm just not sure that you're going to. Well, I think it was clear for everyone to see. It wasn't a standard Pallekele wicket, and so that, coupled with some bad shot making, coupled with some good bowling with from the English players, and that's the result that you have today. And I think Dom made a great point there about Camille. I've been singing his praises as well for the last couple of weeks. Unfortunately, he didn't have a good day in the field either. He had a poor throw that could have run out full salt when he was on 36. And that mistake cost us an extra 26 runs, small things like that. I don't think one throw that he had from the boundary was in the box. And what I say by that is just over the stumps nicely to the bowler or to the keeper. So I think, he's had a poor day. But is that, coming back to Dom's point, is that because of that? I think, in the side one day, out the side one day, back in the side again. Like, is that a culmination of feeling a little bit under the pump? I think it's a great point that Dom made.
Yeah, Estelle, another day, Patim or Kissel stick about a little bit longer and get us over the line. We've had yet another, and there's a lot of comments coming in about this, yet another Sri Lanka loss, which has involved the top three not scoring runs. Like, where do you think this, how should we as Sri Lanka fans feel about this performance? How should we feel about our team going forward? Because I feel like over the last 5 days, we've felt like almost every emotion, right? So it's like the high of that win against Australia, the kind of like the Zimbabwe game was a bit, okay, we tried some things, we learned a lot of things, probably learned more from that loss than we would have done from a win. And then we turn up today and it felt like, there were some issues with the fielding and, maybe the bowling didn't go 100% to what we wanted, but maybe around kind of, we got 9 wickets against quite a decent batting lineup, right? But the problem remains when there's pressure on us, our middle order and lower middle order is struggling to score runs.
Yeah, I mean, and I think what's disappointing is like if you look at that bowling performance, yes, there were mistakes in the field, right? And as you said, it wasn't 100%, it wasn't a perfect bowling performance. But I thought like the plans they had and how they executed was really good, right? The Vellalage bowling in the power play, the way Chamira and Madhushankar were able to bowl those wide Yorkers and restrict the batters as much as possible. All those plans, I think they executed really well. But when you come to the batting, right, and we've been talking about this Pathum and Kusal dependency for months now, right? Nobody else is willing to or has been able to play a leading role in that batting lineup. And that is a massive concern, I think, because even if you look at the Zimbabwe game, once Pathum gets out, there is a bit of a slump, isn't it, in the scoring. And then that little like cameo from Vellalage takes them to a decent score. So here as well, I think even opposition know that if particularly Pathum Nissanka, if you get him out early, then Sri Lanka are going to struggle, right? And I think what we also have to look at is some of the dismissals, some of the shots that were played.
Yeah.
And I think it's very pertinent to think about. We put up a video from Vikram Rathore, who is the batting coach for Sri Lanka, right? And he spoke about Pawan Ratnayake and how he's spoken to him about intent. And I know Anton's spoken about this on the pod as well, about how intent is not necessarily about going after the ball every ball, but it's that mentality to keep scoring runs, right? Whether you're trying to turn the ones into twos or you're trying to find the gaps, that is intent to score. And I feel like between the first game where Pawan had that really bad dismissal to this game, he's gone through all the phases. Like he didn't have enough intent in that first game. Then he played really, really well in the next few games, right? The way he was batting against Australia, he was superb. And today he comes in, and when you've lost your two key batters, the shot that he plays, it felt like it was a bit too soon, right, to go for that kind of shot, particularly because Sri Lanka chasing 150, right? So I think that will be the most disappointing thing for the batters, because as Anton said, this pitch, even from the first innings, it wasn't playing, that it wasn't that flat Pallekele pitch. It had been undercovers. When we came here 3 hours before the game, also it was undercovers, even though it wasn't raining, right? So they were trying to keep it as dry as possible. So it was slower than usual, right? So the way the bowlers adjusted, you didn't see that adjustment from the batters. I felt like it was almost like they thought, I'm sure it's not conscious, but it was almost like they thought this is a given that we cross the line chasing this total at Pallekele.
Dom, you mentioned earlier, you talked about Camel coming back into the side after being dropped. When you look at this lineup, there's 3 players who are quite young in their international career, or maybe haven't necessarily been given the responsibility to go out and win games and to need to score runs and be in those difficult moments. That's Kamal Mishra, Pavan, who Estelle will just talk about, and Dunith Walalage, who today I think were called upon, or if we were going to win it, they would. 3 players were going to have to do something quite big with the bat, or stick about and read the situation. Is this going back to all that T20 cricket we've played since the last World Cup, where we've tried some of the older players, we've had a lot of different variety, combinations of our 11. I think almost everyone around involved in this show at least is an agreement that this is probably our best 11 right now with what we've got available in terms of players not being injured and stuff like that. But have we, again, is this us letting ourselves down by not trying to Walalage higher up the order, giving him that spot a year ago, Pavan coming in only a few 6 months ago? We talked earlier about Camel coming in and out. Is this the chickens coming home to roost in terms of that situation, and actually asking players who might have played a few international games but aren't experienced in those key moments to come in and do something special here?
I think you're spot on, Mark. As you know, we've been talking about Dunith coming up the order and batting at that 4 or 5 spot and providing that little bit of, being able to bowl and bat. And he looked good. And but I think that's something where game time makes the difference, right? As Estelle said, intent is finding what's necessary in the situation. He'd gotten 2 boundaries off of that over, and then you think, okay, maybe just get a single, live to see another ball, because if one Sri Lankan batter got a 50 in this match, they would have at least been in it. And I think that experience, the idea of how do we get in and grind this out? But at the same time, part of me also thinks Will Jacks is a bowler they've seen very recently. It's not as if they didn't know exactly what he was going to do, right? That he was going to come in from over the or around the wicket, kind of try to tuck up the right-handers with that length, and they gave him wickets. That was not acceptable. And so I agree on one hand, Mark, that giving someone like Walalage more game time, we're giving Pawan more game time, we're giving Mishara more game time. They would have had more, sort of strategic ability. But at the same time, this was a side that they had faced, and they knew what their bowling plans were going to be, right? They had the opportunity, like Estelle said, to plan out their bowling innings, and they bowled beautifully to those plans. They had the same chance to do it with their batting innings. They should have been able to go to the tape and say, all right, what's Will Jacks going to do? How do we counter it? And it seems like they didn't have any answers.
Anton, we're now kind of playing knockout cricket. I just said Udith to join us. I'll just add him to the screen. Anton, we're playing knockout cricket now. 2 matches to kind of save ourselves and get to the semi-finals. Sri Lanka have been here before in the Asia Cup a few years ago. You were there when they had to go through that process. Do you think this team have it in them to kind of turn it around and get those 2 wins? And and what needs to be done in between now and that New Zealand game?
Oh, definitely. I think we've got all the tools to get it done. But, we're coming down to the business end of the competition, So there's a lot more things at stake. There's a lot more, the pressure doubles. We've spoken about momentum, how big it was in the previous in the group stages, how that worked in our favor. Now, after today's loss, you sort of feel like, there's hardly any momentum on our side, So the only positive I would take, from this game moving forward is obviously our bowling was really good. I think a lot of guys stood up and showed that the execution was on point. So I'm happy with that. And sometimes with these sort of so-called knockout games, it just forces you to play a certain brand of cricket. Now, I hope we can see that. My only question mark and caveat to that statement is, will we be playing on pitches that, allow us to play that sort of freedom game, So, and that's where I have a huge question mark, because sometimes these pitches don't allow that. And then what that tends, to happen is that if teams strike early against Sri Lanka, coming back to Estelle's point around removing Nissanka early, getting Kusal Mendes out early, that pressure mounts on the middle order. You're going to have, you're playing against teams. New Zealand are going to come with at least 4 or 5 spinning options in that middle phase. They're going to keep coming at you with wrist spin, left arm spin, off spin, all kinds of spin. And if you can cut the head off the snake with Nissanka and get Kusal out early, I struggle to see how we're going to get over the hump unless we prepare a good wicket that's conducive to a little bit of stroke play, and players like Kusal and Patham and Kamindu, we can see them come to the fore and start seeing them get boundaries with their stroke play.
Welcome to Talking Therapy with Murali End. Thanks for joining us. How are you feeling after that loss?
No words. No, I mean, I'm surprised that you guys have words. I don't. I was just lying on my live. I was just on the live. I just finished it a bit. I usually, once the match is over, I'm done. Bye, good night. But today I was just sitting there not saying anything. What hurts most in today's performance is the fact that we bowled well.
Yeah.
Right. We bowled well with this attack. Right. We don't have Matesha Patirana. We don't have Maridu Hasaranga. And we still came out and we bowled well. We restricted them for, as Dasun Shanaka said as well, 20-25 runs lesser. And to go and perform like this, what is surprising is, I mean, if you look at our domestic cricket, we have a lot of turning wickets, spin wickets, and Sri Lankans are known to play spin well. And I think we've forgotten, we've gone brain frozen when it comes to spin bowling. And yes, we can have that kind of hope. The next game is New Zealand in Ketarama, and then we have Pakistan. But again, as Anton said, rightfully said, we are not going to get those wickets that the ball is going to come to the bat, right? It's going to be spinning wickets. And then even if we bowl well, are we going to be able to bat well against spin? And if you look at all the dismissals that we had today, no one really picked wickets. We gave our wickets. Right? They're two different things. Giving your wicket away and the bowlers actually picking your wicket is two different things. I felt we were very casual. 146, 147 was I think we thought, this is going to be a walk in the park. Let's just come and play some casual cricket. We'll get through this. And I think we made a mistake in pushing Dunit Vellalage up, right? Because Kamil Mishara is out of form. He's a newcomer into the side. Dunit Vellalage himself is a youngster coming new into the side. We should have had some experience moving up. And I think Kamindu Mendes was the guy who was supposed to come there. And we messed that up as well. Utterly disappointing. I don't know how we're going to come back from this. Even if we play well, we have minus 2.55 net run rate. Right, and if we beat New Zealand and Pakistan, they still have 1 point extra because the match was washed out. And the weather is not great. 25th, it might rain in Colombo. If that happens, what are we going to do from there on? So I think this World Cup is gone unless something really, really miraculous happens and we get back up. The sad part for me out of the whole thing today is the fact that we can't play spin. And that's unfathomable that we can't play spin.
I just think so many chickens came home to roost today for Sri Lanka, right? We decided to bowl first, and actually our bowling plans was kind of worked. They were good. Everything worked out. So actually considering that we're down to like a fourth, fifth, sixth choice bowlers in some positions, right? But I'm not able to play spin. That's a problem that we've had now for years. Like I always can't remember Sri Lanka side that was good at playing spin at kind of the way other T20 sides are around the world. Unsettled 11 in the batting order meant that there wasn't the right experience in the right places at the right times. That just not enough for our players. And I think probably the biggest sin of them all, it's the one that we keep making time and time and time again, is that we're misreading the pitches. We're just totally misreading what we expect them to happen. It's been Sada Jayasuriya's time at the helm of Sri Lankan cricket is coming to an end. And in 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years' time, when people ask me what was he like as a head coach, the thing I'm going to remember more than anything is how many times under his leadership we've misread pitches. And again today, because I think he just set it all up when we came out to bat. When we've seen what England have done, we just batted with the wrong intent and at the wrong moment. I don't know, if anyone else wants to add to that. What else we saw? What other kind of major issues we should go?
Yeah, Mark, I'll just climb on top of that in terms of, I agree with the points that Udith made. Chances are highly likely that it's going to be tough for us, for Sri Lanka to move forward in this competition. However, you're still in the competition, so you've got to try and keep the camp positive as much as possible. You've got to keep trying to work on things that you want to improve on. Yes, as a fan base and as people that are watching and analyzing the game, we always want to look at blaming something. This is where it went wrong. That could have been done better. I get that. But we're still in the World Cup. You've got to try and stay positive. There's still heaps of positive out of this game from a bowling lineup perspective that I thought was brilliant. I thought the way that Dustin captained the team with his bowling change-ups and lines and lengths, having spoken to some of the bowlers at the top of their mark, field placing, all of that was brilliant. Something just needs to click in the batting order. And I think this is where you need continuity, patience, belief, calmness as much as possible, because if you keep chopping and changing, again, coming back to Dom's point, whoever comes in is going to feel under pressure. And if he doesn't work, what are we going to say then? Yeah, we should have played this guy, or we should have done that. I've been on record and I've gone to say, listen, if you want to make a change, now's the time, because the first game of the Super 8 is the most important. If you want to back Kamal Mishra to the hill, now's the time to show that. You have to show that you back him. You have to show that he's part of the team. You have to show him that he's part of the culture of at least the future of the side going forward. And who knows, he could get you another quick fire 20 or 30 or 15 or so balls in the next game, and then we're off. But we need a spark from someone or something in the middle order just to get that belief back again, because we know that Pathum is in form. We know that. We know that Kamindu's in form. We know that Kusal's in form. So we just need someone in that middle order just to back them up a little bit and get the spark going, so that we can, either put a score on the board that our bowlers can defend, or like today, like we had an opportunity to chase down a score and really bury a team like England. Before we came onto the show, I said to Mark, for me, the most disappointing thing is, and I know it's hindsight, but you don't often get a chance to really bury and send teams home, right? And we missed an opportunity today against England to really put a nail in their coffin and send another big team packing, and that's unfortunate to me. Now it also feels like they've got all the momentum, they've got all the confidence moving forward in this competition. So it's going to make for mouth-watering watching the next couple of games.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I agree with Anton there. You're still in the tournament. You win these 2 games, and then automatically New Zealand and Pakistan have 1 loss. So it's still very much alive. You get to 2 wins, you're through, right? And it's not going to be easy, but these days happen. Maybe they happen to us more than other teams, but we've also seen the good days. You've got to back them to the hilt. You've got to say, all right, guys, sometimes you have a horror show. Forget about it. Move on. Play good cricket. We've seen this side has some real quality. We've seen this side has the ability to put up big innings, and you just have to say, all right, guys, we believe in you. Let's do it. There's no time for chopping and changing now.
Yeah.
I think it's just about getting these guys right for that game with Premadasa on Wednesday.
Look, I'll echo what I've said before. I've actually been. I mean, it's easy for us to sit on the sideline and comment. You know, the coaches or the selectors or the captains have got this and this and this wrong. I've actually been positively surprised by some of the changes and some of the things that the leadership have done throughout this tournament. I think they've gotten things spot on. Now, for me, it's going to be fascinating because, and I mean this with utmost respect, are we going to be doing the typical Sri Lankan thing and press the panic button and make changes? Or is this the time that we see real growth from our skipper, from our coaches and our selectors, and we say, you know what, we're backing this squad and we're backing this lineup until the final ball of this campaign, and then we'll do a review. Because I think you're going to gain a lot of trust from the players, and you're going to gain a lot of confidence from the dressing room if you do the latter. And I'll be watching with both my eyes open to see what's going to get done.
Adding to what Anton just said, I mean, Dasun Shanaka's post-match, the presentation interview, he started off with saying, you know, there are a lot of positives that we can take out of this game. And it didn't look like something that he was practiced, and he came out and said it. So agreed, we have to pick ourselves up. And, you know, the dressing room, I mean, if you saw the dressing room, at least the little you saw in the live coverage, I don't think anyone plays to lose, right? But what matters is, are we going to press the panic button? Are we going to make wholesale changes? And there's nothing much to do. On top, Kamil Mishara, KJP, I think both are the same. Both are probably giving the same thing. Only thing is we've got added advantage because Kamil is good in the field. That's the only thing we've got there. So there's no change. I don't think we should go back to KJP, and I don't think that's going to make any difference in the first place. It was one off bad day, but the way it all turned out, the casualness of the wickets, I don't know how we're going to come back because New Zealand is a better team than England, right? Only advantage we have going into RPS on the 25th is that New Zealand played all their games in India, right? So they're coming in here. We have better knowledge of the conditions, and we played there. We know what we need to do. And when we played Zimbabwe at Ketharama, we batted, 178. We had a problem in the middle, but still we got to 178, a defendable score, right? So there is an advantage there. And that's why today was a very, very important day. We did the first half well. If we could beaten England here, England would have crashed out of the World Cup for sure. And we just needed to win one game. And now it's a lot of comebacks to do. And with a team which is not high on confidence now after losing to Zimbabwe and then this, it's going to be a tough job coming back.
Yeah, I think Judith makes a good point there. And one slight advantage in our camp, Sri Lanka's camp, is the fact that New Zealand actually didn't get to play against Pakistan at Premadasa either. So they still don't quite know what it's going to be like. I think it's going to be a battle of the first six in the middle period. Seifert and Finn Allen are a destructive opening partnership that gets them off the front foot. And of course, we rely heavily on Patham and Kusal. And of course, then, how are we going to play the spin in the middle overs? Those are the three areas I think are going to be the key points in the next match.
I want to ask a question. I'm curious what you guys think. So when someone like Will Jacks bowls, right, part-time spinner, against Nepal, I think his first over, they took him for 22 or something like that. They blasted him out of the attack. Do you think that, we're going to see, as Anton mentioned, a lot of that from New Zealand? We're going to see Glenn Phillips. We're going to see Rachin Ravindra. We're going to see all these part-time spinners. Do you think there's a bit of a mindset issue here with the way that Sri Lanka approach part-time spin? They say, okay, we don't want to lose wickets to this guy, so we're going to play him conservatively, and then end up trying to play shots that, they either try to, then once they get wickets, they try to blast them out of the park. So do you think there is a mindset issue with facing the Will Jacks of the world, with facing, the Glenn Phillips of the world there?
Dom, I think you asked a good question there, and the only way I can answer that is I love spin bowling. It's one of my passions to coach and to teach and learn and watch. And I don't know if you've noticed that Will Jacks, yes, people might say that he's a part-time spinner, but he bowls the same amount of overs for Mumbai Indians and all the franchises that he plays around the world. The one thing that he does extremely well is he puts a lot of overspin on the ball, and it's something that Sri Lankan spinners don't tend to do. I spoke in the previous episode that Mahesh actually has a beautiful normal off-spin, overspinning ball, which he's bowled a lot more today than what he normally does, which is a positive. But a lot of the time, so Will Jacks uses the overspinner coupled with his side spin that skids on. And if you do that from around the wickets, it's quite a nice way to tuck you up, but he can also slide one across your back. Well, I don't think a lot of Sri Lankan spinners actually have the ability to bowl good overspin. So that's number one. And then when they face it, how do they go about playing it, right? So what happens when you bowl heavy overspin on Sri Lankan wickets is, yes, you might not get as much turn, but the ball dips just before it gets to you, and it slows down, right? So your footwork that you use either to give yourself room or to get to or further away from the ball is extremely important. And coming back to Udith's point, if you look at the way we were trying to work the finger spinners, off a wrong length, it was just soft dismissals and the lack of knowledge of how to actually play those types of deliveries of the overspin. We're very good at facing balls that are driven into the pitch with side spin. One will turn, one won't. We're very good at playing it. We're very good at bowling that. But we're not very good at bowling overspin, and coupled with that, we're not very good at playing guys who can bowl well overspin, if that answers your question.
That makes a lot of sense.
Guys, we're going to open up the studio, this stream. If you want to join us, I'll stick the link in the comment section. It's good for us as Sri Lankan fans to kind of get it out there, don't let it sit in your body. Just come out and talk about it. Sri is joining us. Sri, thanks for joining us today, bro. What's your thoughts after that game?
Well, Mark, thanks for having me. As you said, it's good to let it out as soon as possible, right? I think before the game, we probably gave I gave 10% chance to Sri Lanka based on the heads in front of us, right? So we had, even regardless of the conditions in front of us, England were favourites purely because of the quality of the spin attack, and they had Archer. But what's disappointing is the lack of intent and inability to think on your own feet under the game situation of these players, because I'm not sure whether this has to do with the messaging that comes from the think tank, that they shouldn't be thinking on their own feet, or it's just applying too much pressure on themselves. Because if you look at it, even on the field, I think we gave about 10-15 runs too much. Shamira coming around the wicket on conventional fields, when you have someone who can bowl 140 plus at the depth and can reverse the ball, and you have the lower order batting on the opposition, regardless of the dimensions of the ground, this clearly looked like a pre-game plan that was free-shined on the field without any context or thought put into it. So that's the frustrating part. Inability to play spin has lasted us for a long time, even from the likes of Kumar Sangakkara. If you look at how we lost the World Cup finals, Yuvraj Singh came in. So this has been a problem since the early or late 90s or early 2000s. We have not handled spin well. I think it's disappointing. From here on, as I think Anton mentioned, they should stick to this group of players. And the only thing that Kamil Mishara's situation is, you can look at it two ways. He was dropped and he was brought back. You could think that he should have taken this as an opportunity to, just stand his place and play positively. Or he could have sat back and said, look, I'm going to play off the power play at, even at 50% strike rate, because the game would have allowed for that today. So again, these players, the messaging, whether they're listening or they're confused, I think that's the main issue. And obviously, with Sanak's tenure coming to an end, hopefully we should see, players being allowed to express themselves, think on their own feet, and take ownership of their decisions, or go there with a clear role what they're going to do in front. So yeah, that's all. You heard my rant.
Yeah, Sri, can I ask where you're joining us from? I just want to know what time you had to get up for the game.
Well, funnily enough, I went out last night. So I did get up just in time, 15 minutes ahead. So this is a UK time, right, in the UK. So it's, the perfect Sunday spoiled, and the week ahead looks pretty grim now. But
Do
yeah,
you know what, though? I'm
know
glad you went out last night and didn't have your whole weekend on this game, and it got ruined by Schmuck's performance. I'm glad you managed to salvage some of it. Anton and Dom, I don't know what your thoughts are on what Sri was points was making there.
I'll just go first. I think, pre-planning for a game is important. We need to understand what we need to be doing, but we need to understand the conditions and play the game, right? It's game presence. What I felt today was we knew Adil Rashid had 4 overs, right? We knew the wicket was turning. It was not turning massively. It was a slow wicket. And we knew Adil Rashid is going to play a major part in this game. And that score of 140 is, it's not 180, 200, it's not 100, 120. So it's that kind of score right in the middle. And what our approach, I felt, was power play, ball is hard, get as much as possible in the first 6 overs to 8 overs, get as much as possible, reduce the deficit as much as possible, and then work Adil Rashid, and we'll get to the target. You can't be doing that always, right? You can have your pre-plans, you can have all of that, but when you come into the wicket, you need to understand the game. And that's what I felt what Pawan Ratnayaka did, what Dunit Vellalage did, right? They were having that at the back of the mind, look, Adil Rashid is going to bowl 4 overs as well. And we need to get as much as possible before he comes into the tag. And that I feel with Sanat coming in, I feel we've stuck on plans a lot, right? We've not adapted on the ground. We've not adapted during the game. We've had that pre-planned plans on our head, and we've gone and tried to implement that. And that's not going to work in cricket. I don't know, Anton probably can give a better input on this because he's been there and done that. For me, that's what I felt. It's that the game presence is just missing.
Look, I don't want to be controversial or anything like that, but what I will say is,
I want you to be controversial, just so you get a record.
No. What I mean by that is a lot of the times I hear Australians and English players, even South African players, they talk about problem solving. Are the players being given the right to problem solve by themselves, or are they being told how to play and what to do from the sideline? And look, I can only speculate because I don't know Sinhala whatsoever. But in my time together with the team, it just feels a lot of the times that sometimes they get told what to do. And that might help you in certain phases of the game, or it could work with something very specific at a given time during the match. But at the end of the day, the players are out in the middle. They've got to figure things out for themselves as well, right? So I'm not saying it's not like that right now in the Sri Lankan dressing room. This is just my experience having been with them for 3 years, is that you need to create that space and that environment for them to figure out things themselves. And with that comes trust, with that comes safety and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know if that's the way that Sri Lanka do things. Maybe it should be moving forward. I'm not 100% sure. I can't give you those answers. But that would be my take on the whole thing. Are we giving these players the space and the time to problem solve themselves? Because that also creates sustainability and continuity and all these things, consistency, all these things that we preach and talk about and wish for, right? Otherwise, you keep bringing in a new coach. He's going to tell you what to do. That doesn't work. A new coach comes in. He keeps telling you what to do. That doesn't work. New coach comes in. You get dropped. You don't know what you did wrong. You don't know what you did right. And so the cycle keeps repeating itself, right? So I think it's pretty much clear for everyone to see that that's the modern way of going about things in a coaching perspective. And I would love to see that moving forward in Sri Lanka's case.
Yeah,
Oh, go on, Dom.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one thing that is worth thinking about too is this is the first time really we've had a major batting collapse in this tournament. Even though we lost the match against Zimbabwe, we batted pretty well. So I think one thing is that is going to happen, and I think being able to adjust and on the fly and think, okay, well, what does this require? So if you're thinking, you're Dunith or Kamindu, you got to come in and think, okay, how do we fight and claw and struggle to that 147, right? Because it was never out of reach, even at the end. If Dawson had hit that ball for 6 just a little bit further, there was a possibility that they could still win that game. So I think that ability to think on your feet, to say, okay, we're having trouble with this kind of bowler, but let's wait for Jamie Overton and cash in then. I think that's all part of part of it. I think there's a struggle too with knowing that 9, 10, 11 really do struggle with the bat. Like you're not, it's not like England where you're going to get maybe a couple 6s. You're not going to get very much. So I think there's also that mentality of, okay, how do I need to hold on to my wicket? Do I need to go? How do I play this? So I think that also plays in their head. But I think, again, consistency is the biggest positive thing that can happen for this squad, because the talent is there, the skills are there. We just got to give them a chance to execute.
That England 11 today, I should point out, pretty much is about as close to batting all the way to 11 as you're ever going to get in kind of international cricket. Sri, I will let you go because I think you're having a few issues with your device. Thank you for joining us, though. Much appreciate your support. Kulanu, how's it going, bro? Were you up at 4 o'clock?
Yes.
On the East Coast.
I was up at 4 o'clock. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? Like the way that the team performs right now is not going to change the way I support the team. I support Sri Lanka cricket, so
absolutely
as well. So, but it's really disappointing, right? I agree with everything that you've said. I think the most disappointing thing for me is how quickly our fight sort of evaporates. I'm not really an expert on whether it's the reading of the conditions or the mental resilience. I'm thinking about it's both of a combination of two, I guess, like the game sort of awareness, but also sort of the fight. Because I was thinking, yes, Pathum Nissanka, Kusal Mendis cannot score every day, right? These things can happen. I mean, they also like picked out the only fielder outside of the 30th, but you can't really blame a person who had like won a game for us like the way he did against Australia, right? So I was thinking at 20 for 2, like Dom, you were saying, I was thinking, okay, what do we need to be at 15 overs? It's 97 if we were going to get like 10 runs per over. If we had like about like, let's say Kamindu or even Dasun at the crease. So which means we just needed to get to that sort of place. And you were talking about whether the conditions, I know we had like a little bit of a little mishaps in the field and we could have even kept them for lower. But Dasun Chanaka said that the pitch got a little bit better when we batted. So he actually admitted that we should have batted and gotten this score, because right now with the game washed out and the 51-run margin, pretty much on the ropes, right? Like, because this is like an unforgiving tournament. So I feel like, Dom, you just mentioned that this is the first batting collapse that we've had in this tournament, but are this kind of batting collapses affordable in a World Cup like this, especially at home? And I guess the likes of Usman Tariq is now like licking their fingers, right? Because back at Pallekele for Pakistan, right? So because the Pakistan game was the one that I was a little scared of, the bogey, in a game, because it would have been like they have like about 6 or 7 spinners, if I'm not mistaken. So, and you guys were right. We would have. I mean, it was a bit of a situation like Travis Head and Mitchell Marsh. To be honest, like I thought like Josh Butler and Phil Salt are going to come hard at us, but then we managed it well. We had good plans. We actually neutralized and actually Phil Salt, he got a bit of runs, but Josh Butler didn't. So I thought bowling wise, we kept them to the score that we could have. But I mean, World Cup, first game in the Super 8s, and the fight completely goes, right? By the Sam Curran didn't bowl at all. His moon balls didn't come into play at all. And Adil Rashid, when he bowled the first ball, we had 6 wickets already back in the hut. So I mean, like, what are we guarding against? So I mean, it's really disappointing. I know I'll be supporting the team next 2 games as well. I hope they get up at least in the next game for sure, because otherwise the other game is going to be dead rubber. But I mean, the how soon the fight evaporated in the first 5 overs. I don't think we played a sweep as well. Actually, I haven't played cricket at a very high level, so I didn't know why they didn't do that. But the 2 balls that Kusal Mendes and Kamindu Mendes played, they weren't at the pitch of the ball, right? Because the ball probably dipped and they got like beaten in sort of that trajectory by the bowler. So, but we didn't try to sweep anything at all as well. And we just had to get to 97. I was just calculating, like, okay, how can we just get over the line? Because 2 points, even if we get over on a super over, is worth its weight in gold, right? So even if we tie the game in the last ball of the game, but it's disappointing.
Yeah, for me, and I'll see what the rest of the panel think about this. The kind of actual key moment when I was like, all right, this is done, was Hemantha's wicket, because while he's still there with Dustin, you kind of felt if you can take this late, if you get to the 15th, 16th over, and you only need, as you say, if you only need 50 runs in the last 5 overs, or even kind of 60 runs in the last 5 overs, with somebody there for Dustin to rotate strike with, you kind of feel like maybe he might be able to do it. I kind of felt like and obviously we all remember the innings against Australia. We've seen him loads of times go absolutely ballistic. Dustin was by far the best batter we had today, but he just ran out of people at the other end. I don't know what everyone else kind of thinks about that.
I mean, well pointed, Kulunum. I mean, it's about, I think that's what we discussed, game presence, right? Don't lose wickets, get up to the 12th over. We've lost 2 wickets, maybe be 3 down, 4 down by the 12th, 13th over. We could have got this game, right? I don't know about the sweep. I think Anton will probably be more qualified to speak about the sweep, but it's hard hands. And you can't play hard hands on a wicket like this. And a turning ball, we were using our wrists and we're trying to, get the singles. Kamindu Mendes, Kusal Mendes, same thing, right? And this is the same thing we've been speaking for so long, right? We've just not understood how to play spin. And at the same time, we've had the plans already set, and that's how we're going to play. That's it, right? No one was making the calculation, let's take it to 15. Probably the counter argument was Adil Rashid has 4 overs. That is probably what they were thinking, right? Get as much as possible, as soon as possible, and then look at what to do. Again, I'm repeating everything. Dunit Vellalage's promotion, I'm not a fan of that. I think we needed experience at that moment, because you got Pawan there, Kamil there, and then you're going to put Dunit Vellalage there. It's going to just muddle up the whole thing. So yeah, it was lack of game presence. We should have just taken it easy, pushed the game as far as possible, and given an opportunity for Dasun Shanaka to really go and get that scope.
Anton, I don't know if you want to talk about the reverse sweep.
Yeah, so just on the sweep stuff, I think again, from teams who bowl, it's multi-layered for me. So I'll talk about the first one. Again, teams who bowl overspin. If you don't get to the pitch of the ball, a lot of the times that ball's going to bounce over your bat plane. It can either bring in a top edge, or you could get bowled if you expose the stump. So I wouldn't say it's a high risk shot, but it is a tougher shot to play when teams bowl overspin too. That doesn't mean that you can't play the sweep shot. I think you have to try and manipulate the field as best as you can through strike rotation in order for that bowler to bowl slightly fuller, which then makes it easier for you to get to the pitch of the ball to play the sweep shot. So those two things work hand in hand, right? And the only guy that showed a little bit of intent and imagination was Mahesh, by playing a little paddle shot that actually went for a boundary. That forces the guy to change his field. It forces the bowler to change his length. All of a sudden, you're 1 options or 2 options down the ground. They might open up mid-wicket. A lot of the times they got 2s of our spin bowling with mid-wicket being open. So those things work hand in hand for me. And of course, from a coaching perspective, again, I can't comment on what it's like in the team, only on my experiences in different teams around the world. Is if you are a team that encourages the sweep shot, but you go out to it once or twice, do you then shut down the sweep shot completely, or do you help the guys go through that phase of learning? Okay, it's not just I'm going to sweep. It's actually how you manipulate the field, use your feet before the ball release, in order for the bowler to bowl the ball in your area to play the sweep shot. And I feel a lot of teams, just because the bowlers get batsmen out playing the sweep shot, all of a sudden batters are saying we're not sweeping. I also think that's the wrong way to go about things. I think it's hand in hand. You've got to be able to use your feet well, either deep in the crease or towards the pitch of the ball, or giving yourself space at the crease to manipulate the field and force the bowler to bowl the ball into your area, so that you can start playing your paddles and your sweeps and your reverse sweeps.
One big key. Oh, go on, Dom.
I was going to say, I think that was something that we didn't see, the movement. So much of Sri Lanka's success against spin is based off of how they use their feet, whether it's getting back to the short ball or turning a marginally short ball into a short ball by getting back in the crease, or whether it's coming out. We didn't see that today. We didn't, there was a little bit of lead-footedness, right? That's what happens with, against the overspinner, right? If you're not getting to the pitch of the ball, it's going to be hard to hit that. But I think one thing that was interesting to me is they brought the boundaries in today at Pallekele because of the waterlogging. And I thought that might have been a way to think, okay, can we possibly play this a little bit differently, right? Trying to survive might be tough, right? Kulunu was pointing that out. But if you get one or two big overs, you've basically killed the chase. I was watching with my 8-year-old, and I said, all it takes is 120 run over, and this all of a sudden becomes a very, very manageable chase. But it looked like they didn't have the options set up for that. They weren't thinking, okay, against Will Jacks, how do I find the boundary? What's my boundary option, right? Or against Adil Rashid, what are the options? If you don't, and I think the other problem is facing someone like Adil Rashid in T20 cricket and immediately saying we're not going to get runs off of him, because that's, I think, a mentality deficit where you should be saying, hey, any bowler on any day can be got in T20 cricket. We saw Rashid go for big runs in a couple of the matches. You shouldn't create a bogeyman where there is no bogeyman, right? So I think part of it is, yes, we need to be respectful of him, but if the shot's there, play the shot. He was tossing the ball up a lot today. There are things you can do to score runs off of tossed up balls. Yes, the pitch was slow, but if you're willing to come out of your crease and get to the pitch of the ball, you can also do some big damage against him.
I mean, we had a positive attitude against Adam Sampa, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we would have not chased those runs down either. So I mean, to get to that point where we can get a 20-run over, we need to get to a decent position after the power play, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of international commentators and ex-players talk about in T20 cricket, the first 6 overs are so important. I mean, we were pretty much out of the game by then.
Yeah, on top of that, Kaluna, I was absolutely surprised. I mean, again, I'm not there. I can't get the sense it's myself having been at the ground. But there was only 2 batters who really made batting look reasonably easy or okay on that wicket. Like all the other guys were trying to play shots. They were either miscuing them, getting caught in the fence, or getting done by the lack of pace on the ball. I don't think the wicket was that easy at all today. So that, compared to both teams not summing up conditions properly and just figuring out a way to drag the game as deep as possible to the 15th, 16th, 17th over and then make a play towards the end, I think that's where the question mark lies for me from a batting perspective.
I just want to bring this comment up. Hey guys, serious question. How can I take these losses less seriously? Lol, if they lose like this, I feel like my entire day has been ruined. I want you to spare thought for myself, because I've got to go watch Liverpool once this is over, and no doubt Nottingham Forest going to ruin it. And also spare thought for Anton as well. Not only has he got to watch Liverpool because he's a Liverpool fan as well, because he's a good guy, also South Africa, his side, are playing India at the moment. So like, there's a lot that could go wrong for you sporting-wise today, Anton. I assume you support South Africa. I don't know. I've never actually.
Hey, look, I mean, one thing about being a supporter is you've got to be with your team with the highs and the lows, right? You've got to ride that wave, boy. So this is sport. This is part of why we love it. This is why we love tournament play. Things can happen at any given moment. The only thing I could say, from speaking as a fan, is that you want to see growth. You want to see people learning on the spot and improving. That's what you want to see, right? And if that's not the case, then you have every right to be frustrated with the team or with a few certain things. But as far as wins and losses is concerned, I don't have any answers there for you apart from ride the wave, boy, ride the wave.
The one thing you can absolutely guarantee, right, and it might not be the next week, but absolutely definitely there's way too much talent in Sri Lanka and in Sri Lankan cricket for Sri Lanka not to rise again and to become a top team again. Sorry, Sanuda's trolling me about Liverpool. Just one bit of housekeeping. After the Zimbabwe game, I said we'd do a Murali End episode after the women's fixture with the West Indies, but I cannot find the place to watch it. I couldn't even find a live stream online. If anyone can see a live stream to watch those fixtures, can you please send them to me or one of the Murali End accounts and try and watch it? It's obviously impossible to do one of these types of shows if all we can see is a scorecard. I believe they're not being shown in Sri Lanka as well. I assume they must be being shown somewhere in the Caribbean. Like, I don't really understand how you can have two professional international full member teams playing ODI series and they not be some cameras there that people can watch. If anyone has access to it or whatever, or sees where they are, then please send them over. Guys, I don't know if we want to kind of round up with some kind of final thoughts ahead of what is the do or die moment for our boys, isn't it? I don't know what your kind of thoughts are.
I guess. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I guess it's again a test for how they show up, right? I mean, it's not even for the fans, but for themselves. Like, do you want to progress in this World Cup as players? Do you want to take responsibility? How do you come back, right? So, I mean, it's going to be tricky. I also agree that panic button shouldn't be the one that should be pushed at all. I don't know about wholesale changes or strategic sort of different directions or changes in combination. And our limited options in the squad anyway sort of constrains that. Not like we have a lot of options that are versatile or informed in the 15 either, given our injuries as well. So it's a bit of a back and forth between the two venues, between Kandy and Colombo. So that's what we need to sort of quickly adapt to. Weather is something we can't control. So I guess now, just wait and see. Because this was the big moment, right? First game, England not necessarily doing well in the first round. They got a little bit, they scraped through, I would say. And so this was the moment, but it's gone now. So it's time to see whether we can come back. If we can't, then obviously we don't deserve to progress. But let's see in the next game. That's pretty much what I can say. It's just that I'm trying to be, as calm as possible given the batting collapse that we had, because I don't think this kind of collapse is affordable. I mean, we can lose the game. 51 runs from 147 target is a little bit unacceptable. It's not a good look for the product that is the Super 8 either. I would say that much.
Yeah, my few points just going ahead, moving forward, is that in a tournament like this, you can't bring this baggage with you, right? So, yes, it should hurt. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna sit in that change room. You're gonna reflect. You're gonna come home tonight in your hotel room. You're gonna talk to your friends. You're gonna reflect. But then tomorrow morning, it's about how can we beat the Black Caps, and I think that's where the mindset should be. We should not be pressing the panic button, please. I don't want to see that. Stick to their guns, stick to your lineup, stick to your formation. We've got the tools needed to do it. So that'll be the other one. And I think the last point that I want the team and also everyone else to understand is that let's take the game to a place where the opposition's also feeling a little bit under the pressure, right? So Black Caps have their first game got washed out. Now all of a sudden they're playing against Sri Lanka at the Premadasa in their own backyard, in their own conditions. If we can put them under pressure and they lose that game, then all of a sudden their competition's a little bit in doubt, So we mustn't forget that other teams are also under pressure. It's not just Sri Lanka all the time. So, yes, it's going to hurt. This loss will hurt, but you've got to forget about it. And you've got to look back at what's been working for you. You've got to look at your guys who've carried you into the situation, okay? And you've got 2 games where one batter or 2 is going to have to put up a good show for us and get us to that 180, 170, 180, 190 mark where we know that we can defend at Premadasa. And those are my points for the last couple of games moving forward.
And I guess I'll kind of echo what Anton said. I view this as a free hit, right? There's nothing to lose, right? You got to give everything you got. Playing scared is not an option. Give everything that you have. Think, plan, have your plans for what's going on. I think that's what they did brilliantly this match, and say, all right, sometimes in sport, you just have to flush down the toilet, right? And say, this didn't work out for us. Okay, go to the next game without scars, without concerns, and realize that these next 2 games, you got to give it everything you have. If you win, you've got a semifinal spot. So just go out there and play hard. We know they have the talent. I think this team has tried to fight very hard over the course of this tournament, and they're going to need more of it. And to be in the top 4, to be in the top 8 in a Cricket World Cup, it requires fight. It requires that you don't back down. You're going to get pushed down sometimes. India, the team that everyone says is better, miles better than everybody else. Their first game, they were 77 for 6 against the United States of America, right? Of all teams. But they were able to fight back. So what do we do after this loss to get back to doing what we do is extremely important.
I think I'll have to agree with Dom and Anton. It's about forgetting things and moving forward. I think number one, our guys need to get off social media for the next couple of days. Don't even look at it. Don't even look at it through your wife's phone. Just don't do it. Stay away. What the players need to understand is there are a majority of fans who are backing you all, right? They need to get that into their heads. Forget the negativity. Forget the negative fans. Forget the negative comments that are coming towards them, because the majority is backing them. Pallekele, the audience didn't leave. The fans were there. They didn't leave. They watched the game, even after being 32 for 6. So they need to understand that we're backing them, right? Get off social media. Block out the negative noise. My only concern is, do we have people within that dressing room to actually stand up and say, forget about all what happened yesterday. Let's forget about it. Let's move forward. We've got 2 games to play. Let's play those 2 games. We have a chance of getting to the semifinals. 1 win can change everything. And push the team towards that. I don't know who's going to stand up and do that. But at the end of the day, you need to forget it and you need to move on as soon as possible. The problem is that how you are going to move forward without carrying the baggage of what happened today. And what we need to remember as the players also, we had 3 good games. We beat Australia quite convincingly, as a matter of fact. And then Zimbabwe was a dead rubber anyway. We still got to 180. We should have won that game. I mean, there's nothing much to think about there. And then today was a slump. That's it. Just 1 game. And then we have 2 more games tomorrow on the 25th and the 28th. 25th, forget 28th, forget the semifinals, forget everything. The Kiwis, the Black Caps, how are we going to beat them on the 25th? Keep that in their heads and believe that they can do it. They can, right? Pawan was doing well. Pathom is doing well. Kusal Mendes is doing well. The top 3 out of the top 4 are doing well. Just as fans, we can be deflated. I'm sure today they will be deflated as well. But come tomorrow, you need to get back up and just believe that something might work, right? 2 games, it's just 80 overs of cricket. It's just 80 overs cricket. That's 1 day of test cricket that you have to keep in your mind and go at it, put the kitchen sink there and go and win the game, and who knows what will happen from here.
Yeah, I think you guys have all summed it up really well. I mean, we knew it was never going to be easy. Backs against the wall, but that's what happens to Sri Lanka and Sri Lankans, right? We always expect something to go wrong. It's going wrong today. It's just got to bounce back for it. Keep believing, and it's not over till it's over, right? Guys, we leave it there today. For today, we'll be back after the game on Wednesday. Obviously, Sri Lanka women are playing the West Indies women as we speak. I'm going to try something suggested, change my VPN to Jamaica and watch it on one of the streams on YouTube. I'm going to try and do that while I also watch Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool. If you haven't done so already, I mean, we've been going for 1 hour, 5 minutes. If you haven't hit subscribe, I don't know what more we can do or say. Please kind of help us grow the channel. And we'll, as I said, we'll be back on Wednesday. See you all then. Thanks a lot for joining us. Bye.
Thank you.
It's the Murali End, you're in the place to be. Analyze the players and the team. Keep a great company in the stream. It's the Murali End. Welcome to the show. We're here when you're high. We're here when you're low. Some days you're happy, some days you wanna when happy it's we when man it's them. It's the same place, Murali End. Sri Lanka cricket we go represent. Go tell a friend.